Welcome everyone to this special seminar. This is our great fortune. We're really happy and blessed to have Dr. Dhaval Dalal with us. Amongst the devotees connected to our temple, he is known as Dwarkadish Prabhu. And I'd like to speak a few words about him. First, something about his medical profile. He's been practicing in various nursing homes, clinics, private hospitals from 1990 to 1998. And then in 1998, some of these doctors, they decided to come together and form a specialized hospital of their own. So he's one of the founding members and trustees of Bhaktivedanta Hospital and Research Institute, which is based in Mira Road, Bombay, since 1998. Currently, he's serving as the head of Department of Medicine and he is the senior physician at Bhaktivedanta Hospital and Research Institute. He's also senior faculty of DNB Medicine at Bhaktivedanta Hospital and Research Institute. He's a member of the American Diabetic Association. He's a member of the American College of Physicians. He's a member of the Meta-Analysis Research Committee for COVID-19. He's a member of GFESH, which is the Global Foundation for Ethics and Spiritual Health. He represented GFESH at New Jersey in 2015 and also in Mumbai in 2016. And he's also represented BVHRC at International Conference of Yoga and Holistic Health 2012 at Bangalore. So here is a personality who's not only medically qualified, but also for so many years, he and his wife, both of them, Vishaka Priya Mataji, they have extended themselves, giving some kind of medical wellness and holistic solutions, offers with a foundation of spirituality, not that all these solutions were only at the bodily level, but he and his wife, they are very expert at giving us solutions that can help us at various levels, something for the body, medicine for the body, some counseling for the mind, and also very nice spiritual foundation for the long journey called life. And without taking much of his time, I would like to request him now to kindly begin his presentation and enlighten all of us here in Baramati. So thank you, Dr. Dhaval Dalal, Dwarkadish Prabhu, for sparing your valuable time for us. Although we are far, far away, but we feel always connected to you every time we see you. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you. Honor and great pleasure, Dalal Prabhu, for speaking to our wonderful friends there at Baramati. Dr. Mahesh Kate is here, his good wife. They've been good friends for many, many years. We have spent good times at their homes and been very deeply connected for over 2 decades now. And I feel a special sense of privilege in connecting to our fraternity there at Baramati. All of you wonderful physicians, I mean, some doctors who are anesthetists there, surgeons, oncologists. I really don't know. I'm sure there is a mixed hybrid of so many wonderful practitioners of Baramati there. And first of all, I'd like to congratulate all of you for awakening your dormant interest in this field of applied spirituality. I think it's a very beautiful topic of evolution of a person's inner nature, whereby having reached a level of medical proficiency, efficiency, and competency, he also wants to see that his inner side, his inner life, his inner fulfillment takes place through spiritual growth. And it is very true that a combination of both these things, the medical side, which we must excel into, definitely we all want to excel in the fields of our involvement, whatever our field of expertise may be. And we also want to excel on the inner development of our consciousness. And when we combine both of these two things together, then you get actually a sense of success, and you also get a sense of deep happiness, right? So career growth brings us success, and inner growth brings us happiness, right? And a combination of both of things together, A plus B, brings us deep inner fulfillment, right? So with these few words of appreciation for all of you, my dear friends, for there across in Baramati, we would like to touch upon a very important and salient topic today, and that is about family life. Because we don't have to always wear that hat of a doctor in our life, right? It's not. We also understand that there is more to life than just being a pathologist and a radiologist. There is more to life than that. And a major chunk of our life actually would revolve around fulfilling other roles. We all have other roles to play. As Shakespeare said, the world is a stage and we are all actors on that stage. And like a good stage actor, we need to know what our roles are. So today we're going to talk about our role, not as a doctor, but as a doctor when he comes home, he should know that he is a family man. And what principles will guide us, whereby we can make the best of this dimension of our life, right? Because like we say, need to have balanced diet, right? So we also need to have balance in our life on various aspects. So we'll go through a discussion for the next, I believe, 40, 45 minutes or so, whatever we have together. We hope to have some question answers with all of you, which may interest us into a common discussion and be a fruitful use of our valuable time together. So with that, I would like to open up. Yes, a doctor is also a family man, right? Where just like in one sense, if you look at Krishna's role, Krishna is expands as Vishnu, and Vishnu he is present as Vaikuntanath. Vaikuntanath means he is in a role of Aishwarya, where he is the Lord of Vaikuntha. Very formal dealings with the Vaikuntavasis. And when he goes, the same Lord is at home. What is at home? That home is Vrindavan, where he is his natural self, where he can be with his parents, he can be with his cowherd friends, he can be with his cows, right? So he has two roles. He has a formal role in office. God in office is Vaikuntanath or Vishnu, and God at home is Krishna and Vrindavan, right? Something similar like that, if you can extend an analogy for all of us also. This is our natural self, which is supposed to be at our own homes, right? So why is the discussion important? Because it is an attempt by all of us to bring a sense of unity. What is a family ultimately, right? It's not just about 2 people or 4 people or parents with 6 people or maybe brothers and sisters. Joint family means 8, 10 people. It's not just about people living under one roof, is it not? There can be a paying guest staying, or there could be a whatever, a dharamshala. We're talking about a sense of deep unity among the obvious diversity which is present among all of us, right? We all are different in so many ways. Even though twin brothers, even if they're homozygous twins, we know they can be very, very different in their natures, in their life, personalities. So we'll talk of us as married people. Some of us may be married our own caste, some may be having intercaste marriages from different socioeconomic backgrounds. Everything is different. Everything about us is different. And how to harmonize these two things together, husband and wives, bring them together, so that we find a sense of deep unity, right? Because the diversity is here to add spice to our life, but without the uniting factor, there will only be spice. If there is too much spice of diversity, it can become very, very acidic. It can become very troublesome. It can become a lot of heartburn, as you say. A lot of spice means cause heartburn. So if you had just a lot of diversity without the unifying side, then it would become very problematic. So wisdom would mean wisdom of Krishna consciousness, wisdom of practical life, wisdom of spirituality would mean how to create a deep sense of unity among members, right? And this is an important topic not only for Indians, but all over the world. I had heard a story, beautiful story of how a young and I think he was from Alachua, and he grew up in such immense prosperity. In American standards, he was the son of a multimillionaire. But as I say, luck would have it, he actually ended up growing into a broken family. His father and mother separated out when he was quite young. He grew up into his adolescence, and as he grew up to being more mature in a sense, he understood that there is so much in his life which is missing. And the thing which he really felt was missing was, what does it mean to live in a family? What is the warmth of a family? And this burning question kept wrecking his mind so badly, and he started asking people, how do we really experience a family in America? What is a family? So he got answers. He said, well, in America, you won't know what is a family. If you want to know what is family, the only country in the world which really promotes family life to a very significant extent, the large majority of people, is India. You must go to India. He was serious. He came to India. He landed up in Banaras. Came to Banaras, and actually, surprising it may appear, he actually started going to people's houses and saying, can I stay with you? Can I stay with you as a part of the family? Right? And then explain his cause and whatever his mind was, his mindset, and how he was yearning to feel the deep love of what is actually a father, a mother, a brother, a sister, a sibling. He didn't know what that is, right? And his heart was completely vacant. He started staying there, and he became part of the family. They welcomed him, and of course, happy to have such a nice boy staying with them. Maybe 2 years later, somebody from ISKCON came to their house. It was December time. We are entering into December now. It was what's called book marathon time, and they were distributing some literature, Bhagavad Gita, the books, right? And he knocked at the door and said, okay, this is a nice book, Bhagavad Gita, I would like to read it. We're just promoting the book. And he started speaking in pure Hindi. This American boy, this, fair-skinned person started speaking in Hindi, very pure Hindi. I said, how do you know such good Hindi? Grammatically accurate Hindi. He said, yeah, give him the whole background. He purchased the book. He became a devotee of Krishna, right? So then, at one level, he got actually to stay with a family where he was emotionally gratified, and he became so satisfied with that. And on the other side, he got Krishna's message from the Bhagavad Gita, and he became a part of the ISKCON family, where he actually understood that he's part of the spiritual family of. So this is what it is. In India, this is a breaking culture now, as we all know. Many things are happening which are threatening the very fabric of family life in our holy land of India. And therefore, to uphold these values which are sacred to us is important for all of us. So everyone knows what this slide is all about, right? This is a five-sided structure which you call as the pentagon. And this is a so what is it that brings happiness to all of us? Let's come to that basic question before we dive deep into the family discussion. There's some universal principles of happiness, right? Or is it just very, well, it's for you like that, it's for me, it's like that, when I believe this and I believe that. So is it just very individualistic, or are there some, so what they did is these sociologists actually made research, and there is a lot of papers on read, where they actually found that there are common principles which govern happiness of individuals, transgender, transcontinental, trans-economic backgrounds, and they are absolutely universal. And so let's talk about the scientific principles of happiness over here. And yes, what will make us happy? What will make us smile? What does keep us, not just a smile on the face or the plastic smile, what will make us happy in our hearts, deep within our hearts, sense of fulfillment? So there are, Pentagon secret, there are 5 things. And as doctors, we don't need to be told, it's money. All of us like money, right? And doctors also like money, like anybody else. But it's not about money alone, sir. It's about finances which are ethically earned. Yes, this is important. Ethical part is important. Then our happiness comes from social relationships, right? So a large part of our happiness will rely on how fulfilling is our relationships with our peer circle, our friends, doctor friends, non-doctor friends, whatever. That in fact, we know that good friendship also is a great antidepressant, psychologically proven. Correct? So great friendship will actually give us buffer to withstand the stresses of life. A large part of happiness actually comes from kutumba, from our own family. We talk about that in some depth today. Kutum sukh, right? We all marry for that, is it not? Why did you get married? If I ask somebody, why did you want to get married? Of course, there are people these days who don't want to get married. That I have just today morning, I was talking to a person whose daughter is now 29, and she said to her parents, I don't want to marry. I will remain unmarried for the rest of my life, right? And the mother was sharing her inner, her emotional side, with how difficult it has been for her and her husband to accept this fact that our daughter said, I will not marry. And when asked why she don't want to marry, he said, I've seen my friends go through so much. I've seen my other circle of people go through so much. There's so much of struggle, so much of so much of challenges, so much of strife, so much of conflict, and even in divorces, why should I get into all this stuff, right? So people are not willing to get married these days. So therefore, it is a real problem. Kutum Sukh is something which is missing in most people's lives. The fourth factor which gives us inner happiness is instead of our religious practice, a sense of devotion. That gives us the inner fulfillment on the spiritual side. And of course, you don't have to tell doctors about good health, right? So these 5 factors are actually universal in nature. And just as I said, like a balanced diet is there, that we need proteins, we need fats, we need vitamins, we need minerals, we need water, we need all these things within a diet to actually make ourselves healthy in every possible way. Similarly, these 5 aspects are about a holistic, balanced lifestyle. And happiness is not about just having good health or just having a lot of money or just having kutum sukh. It's about having all of these things in proper proportions. And the most difficult thing for all of us as doctors is the balancing act. Correct? So we'll talk about that. Marriage. Right. So you can see marriage has become a big problem. The marriage institute is so sacred, right? You can see the sacred fire is here. I'm sure many few friends who are sitting across there are all married people, right? And you have performed the sacred act of putting offerings and with the word swaha in the sacred fire when we all got married, right? So we remember the sanctity of this, but the act of marriage is now corrupted. It is corrupted by so many extrinsic factors. It's like an infection, like you have an infection affecting a healthy organ, right? You have a pneumonia or you have consolidation, you have got, bronchiectasis, some infection is there, or you have sepsis. It's almost like a sepsis in the marriage scenario. You have contract marriages, you have premarital sex, you have extramarital affairs, you have property disputes, you have rapes and things like that, right? So all these things indicate, and even more, that the very fabric of family life actually is damaged, right? Years ago, when I was in, I think, first or second year in MBBS, I read an article in one, All India magazine. What was the magazine? I don't know what the magazine name, but they are taking a survey of several thousands of boys and girls and asked them how many of you have sexual experiences before marriage. And I don't remember the person, but it's like a large amount of bizarre, bewildering, very shocking that how many people have already lost their sense of morality and the sanctity of their own hearts before acting into the sacred act of a marriage, right? So, and of course, after marriage, it is not so uncommon for all of us to keep seeing how people break the vows of marriages by getting involved with. In fact, I met a police inspector from Kolhapur, a senior police inspector, very senior person in the hierarchy. And I asked him, how are things going on during COVID? They said, during COVID, it was very nice, Dr. Dalal. There was no property, there were no thefts whatsoever. Practically went to zero. There were no body offenses over there. But the amount of conflict between husband and wife because of breaking the fidelity of marriage was very, very high. The wife would be able to detect that my husband is in a secret relationship with somebody else. And that was the highest during the COVID time, because, the man is sitting at home and his mind is already disturbed with, so many thoughts of illicit thoughts are coming into his mind, and he's trying to fulfill them through all sorts of awkward methods, and he's detected by his good wife, and then there's a big conflict and police case and things like that, right? So the point is, my dear friends, that we can see that this is an area which we all need to protect, right? We need to protect this tradition of what we call as vivaha, right? What is vivaha? Vivaha means vi and vaha. Vi means vishesha and vaha means vahan, right? So God, the Supreme Lord, in every country of the world, in every tradition of the world, in every ethnic background, everywhere in every tradition, there is an act of marriage, right? Marriage is not just about Hindus or Muslims, it's a universal thing. In all religions, it is considered sacred. Why? Because this is a Vishesh Vahan made by the Lord a vahan given to a couple to undertake a journey towards the kingdom of God. Yes, Vishesha Vahan is Vivaha, the true understanding of Vivaha. It's called Samskara. Samskara. We have 10 samskaras in our life. Very important samskara is Vivaha Samskar, and that's taking us on a journey to the kingdom of God. Now let's see what doctors have in store for them. As doctors, we are a unique group of people, highly placed professionals, and with the what we call as occupational hazards, right? We all have occupational hazards. Surgeons have theirs, and radiologists have their because of exposure, things like that. But as a group, all of us doctors have common health, common hazards because of our profession, and that's we need to get a little familiar on that. And the first, of course, is time factor. What affects our family life very severely is availability of time, right? Now, I'm sure doctors who are sitting in the clinics till 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 noon, 12 midnight, and doctors who are having OPDs till 2 in the morning, right? What you imagine, what is his family life? He must have left his, home at 6 in the evening, and he's sitting there. He has a roaring practice. We call it roaring. But if a roaring practice, we have a crying wife, right? Crying children, probably, or maybe they're also roaring at home because they don't see their father, they don't see their mother, right? So we have emergency calls, duties. Sometimes we have to attend calls in the night. Cardiologist, gynecologist will have to go in the night for, emergency labor pains and things like that. So we all have some intrinsic problems where we cannot have as a profession fixed duty hours. It's very difficult to do that, right? And we honor this. We honor the time factor in the service industry. So we are available to our patients, but that creates a stress and taking away our time, right? And that more time in the clinic, more time in hospital, more time in our hospitals means that that time is stolen from somewhere else. So that time belonged to someone else, and that has been stolen from them. And therefore, the family suffers because of. I had a doctor who from our hospital, Bhaktivedanta Hospital, who I met. He was super specialty person, a neurophysician, and he said that, and he started coming less to the hospital. He was giving his time every day he was giving about 2-3 hours every day on OPD. He was doing very well, and we are good friends with him. Send him a lot of patients of neurology for expert opinion, and he started coming back, only once a week, twice a week. He said, hey, come on, why you reduce your OPD? I don't know where to send my patients now. You are so good at this. He said that my son has actually become a rebel. My son rebels. Whatever I say, my son rebels. What my wife says, he listens to nobody. He's completely become disobedient and a rebellious soul. And when we analyzed it psychologically, he told me confidentially, it was detected that he actually is suffering from a situation whereby he has no feelings left for his parents because they didn't give him time when he was a growing child. And therefore now in adolescence, he has less feelings for us, and therefore he is gone into a state of indiscipline and bad scholastic records in college. And therefore I'm cutting down my time to spend time with him now so that I can discipline him, give more. Yeah. Work stress. Yes, our work is stressful. It is not all jokes. Some of us are surgeons here. We have to, cut into people's abdomens and do commando surgeries or do, difficult, all sorts of difficult, complicated surgeries. High-risk cases are there. People with uncontrolled diabetes and all sorts of ischemic heart disease. Yes, our work is stressful, right? So let's face it, that stress hits us somewhere. And therefore, when you go home with that stress may come out in a little bit of, ugly form, and it may create problem at home. So we have our own health challenges. We all know doctors can suffer from. In fact, doctors don't have great long lives. You must have seen statistics. The average life of a doctor is about something like 55 years. Right. So, and of course, the amount of suicides in doctors is very, very high. Right. So we have a set of health challenges also. Competition affects us. Yes, we have peer pressures, competition is affecting us. nursing home on the left side, nursing home on the right side, nursing home in the next lane. And well, you are there for 5 years. Nobody was there around, and after 5 years, fine, 5-6 people have joined there, and the struggle starts, the competition starts, and all that it brings along with that. We all know, we're very familiar with all that stuff, right? Competition, how it affects us, creates stress. We have carried aspirations, and therefore all of this ultimately affects children more than the food and clothing and the college and school we give them. The emotional growth, that's the physical growth. The emotional growth takes place because of the nurturing by the father and the mother, right? The nurturing, right, that gets affected. And for many, you'll probably see this. There are many doctors, children's, who will say that I don't want to become a doctor. I don't want to become a doctor because yes, his father and mother get having serious challenges in their relationships. They know that how difficult the life is, the struggle which is involved, the high loans, the EMIs, and etc. etc. Yes, I don't want to become a doctor. Late marriages, the girl, they may get to know each other in college or whatever it is, but they marry late. So the doctor is usually in his late 20s or maybe early 30s, and then they get married, and that creates a huge amount of biological problem because, as you know, everything starts crumbling down after 30. And emotionally also, you are in a state where you're quite rigid. In marriage, we require flexibility. Rigidity does not work in marriage, right? Like you have a copper wire, you can bend it. It's called malleability. So marriages with malleable partners is so much more easier to run. But as we grow old, when we are at 20s, we are more malleable. When we are at 30s, we are less malleable. When we are 40s, we're hardly malleable, right? And if you have both working partners, both going off from the house, right? The lady in the house, the maushi, she's taking care of, she's in charge of the house. So we can understand that these are all very serious problems which we should, which we all know are there, but they affect us. So what makes a good marriage? What is actually the pillars of success of a good marriage? Well, there are 3 C's. Doctors like to hear mnemonics, 3 C's. We used to remember. 3 C's are character, care, commitment. Yes. These 3 C's are what actually go into building up. They're the building blocks of a great, long-lasting, happy marriage. Character talks about our inner nature, talks about our moral principles, our ethical principles, right? Our ability to actually identify what is good in us, what is good in others, bring out the best of character from ourselves, and behave in ways which will bring out the best of character in the opposite person also. Bring out the good side of the person, right? This character thing is important because, as I said before in my talk, that these days morality is on the decline. It's very on the decline, and therefore this police inspector who I was talking to was telling me that when the police asked this person that why is it that you're having the relation with this with the other lady, he said, "Usme kya hai?" Right? I'm taking care of my wife, I'm taking care of the other lady also. I'm taking care of both these people. So why should it matter to my wife? I'm taking both of them properly. They have nothing to complain against me. Both of them, I'm keeping them happy in whatever is necessary. So it's fine. So we can see even getting into a out of marriage relationship is seen by people as normal these days, right? It's no longer considered taboo. It's what society has begun to accept, very unfortunately, right? And therefore, the sanctity of marriage has gone down. What about the commitment factor, right? I had a small example of commitment, which I remember. A boy and girl got married, and soon after marriage, of course, they went for honeymoon. After a month or so, they went for honeymoon, and they were spending time, I believe, in somewhere in Ooty or somewhere like that. They went to Ooty, Manali, hill station. And the boy started getting some fever. And they thought it was a normal fever, viral fever, this and that. And they came back and the fever lasted for a little longer time. And then they do the blood check. And they found the boy had acute lymphocytic leukemia, ALL. And all of us know as doctors what is ALL in adult. Adult ALL is a very, very high risk, very high probability of mortality. Bone marrow transplant, this and that, chemotherapy. These are all very, not very established for adults when they have ALL. Anyway, so the girl was told by her friends that, look, you have just got back to this boy, right? You don't have to really continue, do you? Right? I mean, just 1 month, you hardly know each other very well, and you just, this person is going to die. There's a 80%, 90% chance that he won't live. And even if he gets done with this leukemia, it's incurable. It's going to relapse again after a while, and you won't survive this relationship at all. So just forget about it. But the girl had in her heart a sense of deep commitment to her relationship. And that's so important that when there are challenges which make us feel that we should break off, just separate out, we don't need each other type of things, when the mind starts playing tricks on us, at that time, we want to play committed. Every relationship in this world, especially which is sacred to us, will be tested in time. Even if one is God, Lord Ramachandra and Mother Sita, even their relation was tested because someday a Ravan came who wanted to seduce off Mother Sita, and her love and her gratitude and her sense of submission to Lord Ram was impeccable. And therefore, we read about it even today after millions of years from the Ramayana, right? That is commitment. And about, of course, we have about care. The care is such important principle. As they say in English, I don't care how much you know, but I know how much you care, right? This is the soft part of our relationship where we really care. Marriage is about caring for the wife, the husband, the children, the affection. That has to be there. You're not sitting together physically, but we actually care for each other deeply. We are the best well-wishers for the entire family. And when all these three things are there, we feel a sense of deep shelter, right? So here are some challenges which we should talk about also. Of course, we are only too familiar that whenever two people come together and stay, then they are going to have a sense of difference of opinion. When two vessels come together, they make noise, right? Bhanda. Starts striking, then it says Bhandan. Right? So when Bhanda comes together, there's Bhandan. So what is the attitude a mature grihastha, a mature family man will have towards the imminent conflicts which will almost always take place when two people stay together for a good length of time. So the man of wisdom, our acharyas, they are seers of the truth, and they have told us that a good way of looking at it is look at it as the fight of two goats. I don't see in Bombay, but maybe you have seen in Baramati or otherwise in villages. Two goats, they lock their horns and they really have a tough fight, and they look like they are really going to kill each other with their horns. But then somebody comes along and says, "Hut, hut, hut, hut," and then they separate out, right? So we've been told, don't take the conflict of the husband and wife seriously. If you must have had experience when you are eating your food that you'll end up biting your tongue, right? How many of you had that experience? I get it off and on. You bite your tongue, what happens, right? Do we really punch our own teeth with our own fists? No. We do only one thing. What is that? We happily tolerate. We happily tolerate the pain of a tongue bite because tongue is ours. Our joy is ours. Lord also is ours. Right? So we just have to tolerate the pain of a tongue bite. Similarly, the wife is mine, the husband is mine, right? It's part of me. It's not something outside of me, right? Therefore, we may end up sometimes biting each other and giving each other pain, right? But it's all right because it's our own self. The wife is, of course, is Ardhangini. She's part of my existence, right? So there are going to be good times and sometimes not very good times, but we learn to tolerate each other. We don't really take things to the extreme. We learn to neglect, and therefore we understand that man is going to think from his head, woman is going to think from her heart, and therefore God has given us a heart and brain, and one is more the man is more heady by nature, and woman is more hearty by nature, and a combination of that brings in rational intelligence and emotions together, and therefore the unit together, man and woman, is actually a great combination which the Lord has designed, right? So sharing life, marriage is about sharing life with your best friend. Yes, my dear friends, it's not about a man being higher or woman being higher, or it's no longer that traditional thing where, the woman says, Swami, aap bolenge waisa hi hoga. It's not anymore like that. I think we're talking about friendship. Truly speaking, and I'm happy to say that in my life, I've been married for the last almost 32 years now. And if anyone asks me in the middle of the night, who's the best friend, I'll say it is my wife, right? So I have no qualms and absolutely no hesitation in saying that she is and she will be for the rest of the time I can understand, she will be my best friend in life, right? And therefore, I think all of us who have good marriages will feel like that our best friend is our wife, right? And of course, our spouses. Therefore, all we want to move together in every destination together, right? So, whom did we marry? We married the person whom we loved, and then we have to love the person we marry, right? So, these are not some extraordinary principles we're talking about. These are principles which we all understand, but we need to refocus on the value of our marriage. This is a gift. Marriage is a gift of God, right? God sends one of his own sacred children, his daughter or his son, into our lives, and we take care of each other as part and parcel of God. Therefore, we'll probably end with this discussion about how marriage is, what is the spirituality component of marriage. More about this, it's about sanctity part, right? That it is a sacred thing. There are, in our Hindu customs, we have, we go around the circle 7 times on the sacred fire, and we have vows for each circle. And the vows we may have forgotten now, we may have taken when we are young, but the vows are very, very important. We can discuss those vows at some other time if time permits and we have the opportunity. But those vows are very sacred, and they bring us to a bond which is sanctioned and blessed by Agni, by Vishnu, by the Purohit, the Brahmanas, by our beloved parents, by our good friends, and the devotees, right? So that sanctity is something which we carry in our heart, and therefore it is not a mundane relationship. It's a sacred relationship. A good marriage with spiritual component being active means also that we see ourselves as trustees of our children, right? They are children who are given to us as gifts of Krishna, as gifts of the Lord, and we take care on their behalf. We give them God's love through us. They don't belong to us, but we take care of them on the Lord's behalf, right? And nurture them with God's love. It also means that we have faith that of all the girls a boy could have married and of all the boys a girl could have married, if 2 beautiful souls have been brought together as husband and wife, right? A spiritual marriage means that it is the Lord who has brought them together. The infinite probabilities and possibilities, these 2 have been brought together. And that's why they said God, marriages are made in heaven. And therefore there is a divine purpose in our marriage. And because this divine purpose is there, the divinity must pass on, and the legacy must pass on from one generation to the next. And therefore, this component of legacy, that we live a life of such high quality that we can pass on these values to our beautiful children, will take it further. So These are some just thoughts which are present to all of you, and we can take some questions and have some interaction now. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. The last slide talks about what are the components of a spiritual marriage which are highlighted in our life. And we talked about the principle of sanctity, the principle of trusteeship, the principle of faith in God who brings us all together. And we highlight the principle of legacy. That means carrying on the beauty and tradition of your life, the spirituality which you all earn in our life from one generation to the next. So when all this is there, this all it's a spiritual marriage.
And I have a question also.
Yes.
How to overcome the guilt of not giving time to family, especially the kids?
There is no there is a magic pill, there's no antibiotic, there's nothing for this. I think we all have to sit with ourselves and with our beloved spouses together and see, one person has to take a little more lead role. The demands of a profession are always rising, and I find that this is a big challenge, right? You start off with somewhere, but then you have to scale up. When you become more senior, your clientele has gone from 500 to 1,000 and then 10,000, and the whole neighboring village comes to you and the whole town comes to you, right? So you keep on upscaling, and then more and more of your time is robbed away, and therefore the act of balance will be very important. We'll have to probably think of maybe taking Saturday, Sunday off completely. Okay, so let's make a small beginning that, okay, I don't work on Saturday now. Saturday is only for my family, it's only for my health, it's only for taking care of the things which I would have wanted to do, but I'm not able to do, right? So we may have to make some practical changes like that. Maybe cut down, become more efficient, apply more assistants in your clinic. Okay, you have a helping hand, some RMOs, some this and that, some clinical assistants who will do all the basic work, and you will be probably doing the more of the actual work of terms of giving out prescriptions like that. So we can do it. Like they say, there's a will, there is a way. So we can do it. We may have to delegate, we may have to reorganize, be more efficient, but we cannot allow the guilt to prevail too long, because at the end of the day, my dear friends, what are we looking at? Will all the money which we leave behind for our children make them really happy? Right? If I leave behind 10 crores of rupees for my children, that make me truly happy? Well, for some time, but have I given them values? Have I fed them love? Have I shown them what is life? Have I shown them the beauty of what actually is God's creation? Have I given them introduction to spirituality and the goal of human existence, right? And all these things are also being done with our children. Then that when we breathe our last, which we will sooner or later, that I have played my role, as I said in the beginning, our role. In fact, in Bhagavatam, the 5th canto, Rishabh Dev talks about this, that we do not have even the right. This may sound a little heavy. It's coming from a big acharya like Rishabh Dev, who's God's incarnation, in fact. He says that we do not have the right to become a father or a mother, or a guru or a teacher unless we can deliver our dependents from the repeated cycle of birth and death. That's how high responsibility is placed on the shoulders of civilized grihasthas to actually deliver. Their role is to not just be birth, but to deliver their children from the cycle of birth and death and place them at the feet of the Lord. That's the highest, you can say, climax or the complete fulfillment of parenting, where you make your children into wonderful devotees, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, anybody else would like to say something, ask something?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. हाँ, Guruji.
Yes.
Hello.
Please go ahead.
This was really very nice thing to listen from you. There is always conflict between that you have already told that though we are a doctor, there are other parameters to our life. I also agree And I usually say that only 30% of my life is anesthesiologist and 70% is my friends, family, kids. But in that 70%, when I came to home or when I come to home, the call come from the hospital in an emergency and I have to go back to the call. So the conflict between medical ethics and commitment towards the family.
Yeah.
Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, I mean, I pick up the word from your talk, and you said the word emergency, right? That
Yeah.
there is emergency appendicular gangrene has come and appendix has ruptured, whatever, and you as anesthetists are called in for assisting surgeon. So we know these are things that don't happen practically every day. Right? So we are called in maybe at some point of our time, and if it is happening all the time, then it is not emergency. Then it becomes a routine. So if it is emergency, I think our family understands that. But if it is becoming too frequent, then we may have to have a assistant anesthetologist also who will go on your behalf and get the things done, right? So let it be emergency, and that's perfectly fine. But I like Dr. Santosh, your analysis of 30%. that sounds good. That sounds like a good balance you already probably have struck in your professional life. Thank you for saying that. Yes, Dr. Aparna.
So many, yeah. Thank you for very nice tips to balance. But still, I just want to ask you, it may be a repetitive question, but still just want to ask you that, like in balancing between professional and family life, as you said that one of the parents should give more time. So it always
who's the one?
Then it's mother. Yeah.
Who's the one who will do that?
Yeah, of course. But still, like many now today, many mothers who are medicos, they have joined. So can you just throw some light on that, like how a doctor mother should, like, how she should, like.
See, you are asking a person. The person asking the question is a mother of 3. You are a mother of 3, and they are all grown up. They are already well placed in their educational fields. They are medically, flourishing. So I'm sure I will speak from theoretical understanding, but you will speak as a practical mother. How have you raised your beautiful children to this level of being so, promising in their behavior, in their demeanor, their academics? They are doing so well. So actually, there is no harm if you answer this question yourself and share with all of us how you've been taken care of. You are active, ophthalmologist yourself, running a beautiful, nice hospital there in Baramati. How did you do it? Is my question to you.
We want to hear it from you because we have got always inspiration from you all.
I think I want to talk about quality time now. Yes, we all understand that time is important, but time is always a scarcity, and there's going to be a lifelong challenge for all of us. You must understand there is something called as quality to the time. Just being in the house together with our children is not enough, but interacting with them, sitting with them, making them feel our presence in their lives, make them feel our affection for them, making them feel our care and concern for them. That means spending time in such a way that there is deep emotional connectivity, that both the hearts of the children and the parents, they actually are connected during that interaction. And therefore, we're not doing it as a formality, not doing it as a ritual, but actually you want to deeply connect to the well-being of your children, about their school, their college, their well-being, their hopes, their aspirations, their failures, their dreams, whatever it is, their aspirations. You want to connect to them at a level where they feel our presence in the life very, very deeply. So even though when time is short, we can make it very quality oriented, right? And when time is short, then we know that each and every moment we spend of the half an hour or so, or 1 hour or so per day is important for me, because that's the time I'm going to share. One good tip that will also be there is to dine together, right? As doctors, sometimes we know that, the mother comes at a particular time and she eats her food, and the father comes a little late and he maybe the Mausi heats of the food or heats the food himself and goes to eat and goes to sleep. But actually, a lot of emotional connectivity takes place during dining. So if you can make a practice whereby at least once in a day, if not more, we all can sit together and eat together. Because the power of anna, the power of food, the power of prasadam is so great that by sitting together on the table and sharing life, sharing jokes, pulling each other's leg, having a good time, not being on the mobile and not putting on the television. That must be said as a disclaimer that these are two huge thieves of quality time, right? So to discourage that culture, but actually it's okay, everyone sits together. Even if you have homework, the children can do it afterwards. If you have something else to read up for the next day, right? But for those 20, 30 minutes, we all sit together as one family. These are some simple things which people who have done. So in fact, Radhanath Swami, my beloved spiritual master, used to say that we all know this, the family prays together, stays together. He would say the family which dines together, shines together. The family which sings together, sings kirtan or whatever, sings together, clings together. And the family which dances together, dances to the song, to beautiful songs or bhajans, Harinam Sankirtan, dances together, advances together, right? And so this is something he came up spontaneously with at a time when he was meeting one of the families where we happened to be there. So these are some very simple things: eat together, spend quality time, and make each other feel wanted and valued, right? We want to make our children feel wanted and valued. And when that happens, actually, bonding takes place very powerfully, very deeply, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else would like to say something, ask something?
I just want to share an incident.
Yeah, please go ahead, Dr. Manish.
I have a younger son of 19 years, and a couple of days back, I was just talking to him, and while my conversation, I just said, I think that is mother's duty to tell you what is right and wrong. So he said sarcastically, do you think I am born with some guidelines? I come with a guideline on this earth, and I was just laughing. So these types of conversations with kids, they connect me to them.
Yes, yes, yes. Very, very sweet exchange, Dr. Manisha. Yes, thank you for sharing that. Very sweet, very emotionally bonding exchange. Wonderful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. See, if our children don't get time from us, they will find, what parents give them is genuine, deep love. Genuine, deep, heartfelt love. If children are constantly deprived of that, they must get it. If not from you, they'll get it from somewhere else. And when they get it from somewhere else, it will not be a very healthy source of happiness for them. And they may fall for something which is not good for them. Bad company, bad association. And you will regret that they fell for cheap love. They fell for cheap love, right? Missing up the diamond of your love as parents, they fell for cheap love, which is like broken pieces of glass, right? So therefore, we don't want to regret this. So for our children's sake, for our own sake, right? We need to, as husband and wife, give them an example. What do children really need? What will they carry with them? The children will carry the example which they have seen themselves in the family, right? Because what we know psychologically is that the boy, the son, will behave unconsciously with his wife the way he has seen his father behave with his wife. That means his mother, right? And the girl is going to behave with her husband the way she has seen her mother behave with her husband, that is her father, right? So we know this is psychologically true. So for them, it is such a deep deep impact, unimaginable impact which is on the subconscious, where they just carry that thing with them unconsciously, right? So they've seen a very stable marriage, a happy marriage, a bonded marriage, happy father and mother. They also are likely to have a great marriage ahead when they get married. And they've seen a disturbed marriage, a conflicting marriage, a challenging marriage. They will have difficulties themselves when they get married also. So, these are very, the impact is long lasting. The impact is not short term, it's really long term. So our investment in time with our children and with each other is going to bear long-term dividends. It is not to be seen in short-sightedness. It's long-term. When you go to a practice and you do a surgery, you get 50,000 rupees out of surgery. It looks like, okay, I gave time 3-4 hours and I got 50,000 rupees from that. So it looks like immediately investment and returns. So now that attracts us, that pulls us, right? Because you do something and you get fast results. But here, in the family front, investing time with the spouses has long-term implications. The children, long-term implications, and those who are intelligent always invest in long-term and not in short-term.
Yeah, Dwarkadish Prabhu. If anybody has any question, please ask. Otherwise, we'll conclude now.
10 o'clock, and it must be time to go to bed for most of you, probably. I hope.
Yeah. The one part which was missing from Nanda Dalal Prabhuji's introduction regards to the Dwarkadish Prabhu, that is Dr. Dhaval. That he's missed that he didn't say anything about his. He is a best actor and best director of many of the dramas. And taking out that thread, he handed over the script for all the doctors participant, doctor as a family member, family man, and we'll follow your script definitely, and we'll follow your directions. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.